There are very few monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh's history that are as iconic as the Blue Eyes White Dragon. From being Seto Kaiba's ace monster to being a actual competitive Yu-Gi-Oh deck, sometimes, the Blue Eyes White Dragon has had a complicated history. But since there's a new structure deck that just came out, I had to ask the question, how good was Blue Eyes actually? Has Blue Eyes ever been the best deck in Yu-Gi-Oh? Or has it always been carried by nostalgia? Let's dive into the history of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Back in the far off past of 2002, when Yu-Gi-Oh first hit the scene, the Blue Eyes White Dragon was the strongest normal monster in the game, boasting 3,000 attack.
Now that's a lot of damage!
But competitively, it was kind of awful. Now you might be asking, but Ross, it had so much attack, it could beat over anything. What do you mean it wasn't good? Well, the reason why it wasn't good is because tribute summoning back then was god awful and, more importantly, way too slow. Competitive decks back then, like Go Control and Chaos variants, focused on efficiency above all else, with one card plays and floaters like Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. Meanwhile, you had a 2 tribute vanilla monster that did nothing other than have 3,000 attack points. Even back then, that wasn't cutting it. As Yu-Gi-Oh continued to evolve throughout the years, Blue Eyes kept getting further and further behind. Eventually, Synchro Monsters took over in 2008, and by the time Xyz Summoning arrived, Blue Eyes was basically a collector's item rather than a real competitive threat. In 2013, Blue Eyes finally got a new structure deck that brought it into modern day, adding synchros to its arsenal. This structure deck that you can still find at Walmart for some reason did a lot for Blue Eyes, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. The meta already kind of blew past it due to the introduction to Dragon Rulers. If you don't remember Dragon Ruler format, it was a major point in Yu-Gi-Oh's history when it came to power creep. It killed a lot of decks, including Blue Eyes, before it even got the chance to get off the ground. Sure, Trade-In made it slightly less awful by giving it some draw power, and sure, the Dragon Rulers format of 2013 gave some decks an excuse, and I really mean excuse, to use Blue Eyes for Dragon Shrine plays, but Blue Eyes itself was still far too behind to see actual competitive play. In the next few years, Blue Eyes would get support here and there that would make it an actual deck. Not competitive, but you could definitely bring it to a Rogue Knight. That is until 2016, where everything changes. Not only did Blue Eyes get support, not only did it become an actual competitive deck, it won Worlds in 2016. But before I go over how this happened, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And comment down below, what is your favorite Blue Eyes card? For me, it's Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. When I was a kid, I thought it was so cool that Kaiba was able to fuse all 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons together, and that whole episode was just so intense. But enough of that, let's get on with the video. So how did Blue Eyes White Dragon win Worlds? Well, oddly enough, we gotta actually talk about a movie first. Konami decided to greenlight a movie called Dark Side of Dimensions that would wrap up the story of the original Yu-Gi-Oh series, that would focus on Kaiba's inability to let go of the Pharaoh. So Konami was like, oh, since this movie is going to focus on Kaiba, we should probably release new Blue Eyes cards. And this time, they didn't make them trash. You hear that? You could have been so good. You were so cool, but no, you decided to be trash. There's a reason why I didn't talk about you earlier. Now go back to the bulk bin where you belong. So what cards did Konami introduce in order to make Blue Eyes a world champion? First up, we have Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, a pivotal addition. This card allowed for easier field presence and spot removal, enhancing the deck's offensive capabilities and consistency. This card reads, can only be normal summon or set. Must first be special summoned from the hand by revealing 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon in your hand. You can only special summon Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon once per turn this way. This card's name becomes Blue Eyes White Dragon while on the field or in the graveyard. Once per turn, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls, destroy it, this card cannot attack the turn that this effect is activated. This was a much needed upgrade from the original Blue Eyes White Dragon, and it synergized really well in the deck considering that it was considered a Blue Eyes on the field and in the graveyard. The other pivotal card that I got was a spell card called the Melody of Awakening Dragons. And how do you awake a dragon? Well, with the electric guitar, of course. This card reads, discard one card, add up to 2 dragon monsters with 3,000 or more attack and 25 or less defense from your deck to your hand. This card provided consistency by searching out key Blue Eyes monsters, streamlining the deck perfectly. Being able to search out a Blue Eyes was great, but ultimately the deck needed a new boss monster. In comes Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. This card reads, you can ritual summon this card with chaos form, must be ritual summon. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict double piercing battle damage. On paper, this card sounds only pretty good. The immunity to targeting made this card really sticky, but what made it transcendent was the format it happened to be in. The top deck at the time was Zodiacs, and Zodiacs often ended on a defense position monster. Isn't that convenient? But what did Blue Eyes do against the other decks in the format? Well, for that, they had Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. The card reads, neither player can special summon 2 or more monsters at the same time. Once per turn, when an effect of a card in the graveyard is activated, quick effect, you can negate that activation. Second quick effect, you can tribute this synchro monster card, special summon 1 light dragon synchro monster from your extra deck in defense position, except Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, but destroy it during the end phase of this turn. This card hard shut down Burning Abyss and Pendulums, the other 2 top decks in the format. In addition to some well-timed bans by Konami, it's unsurprising that this deck won Worlds in 2016. And with the release of the movie in 2017, it truly felt like Blue Eyes was on top of the world. And then tragedy struck. The meta kinda just moved on. Even though that all the cards I had gotten were really good, they were extremely meta specific, meaning as soon as the meta changed, Blue Eyes again fell behind. Now the deck didn't outright just disappear, it even got more support with Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon in 2019, enhancing the deck's synergy by facilitating searches for ritual spells or polymerizations and boosting the attack of high-level dragons. Then in 2021, we got Blue Eyes Jet Dragon, introducing resiliency to the archetype, providing protection, quick recovery upon destruction. Unfortunately for Blue Eyes, neither one of these were enough to bring it back to its 2016 days. Blue Eyes ceased to get any new support until recently in 2025, where it got a new structure deck, giving it a bunch of new support that hopefully will build it back up to its 2016 form. Some notable ones are its new Link 1 Spirit with the Eyes of Blue, and the effect reads, you can only use the first and third effect of this card once per turn. First effect, if this card is link summoned, you can add 1 Mausoleum of White from your deck to your hand. Second effect, you can't special summon monsters except dragon monsters. Third effect, you can tribute this card, special summon 1 Blue Eyes monster from your hand or graveyard, but if you special summon an effect monster from the graveyard, it cannot attack. Also, its effects are negated. It also got a new synchro boss monster in Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. The effect reads, your opponent can't banish cards from their graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects of Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon once per turn. When a card or effect is activated on the field, quick effect, you can negate that activation, and if you do, this card gains 1,000 attack points until the end of the turn. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon 1 light dragon monster from your graveyard, except Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. These cards are a game changer for Blue Eyes, and has already catapulted the deck in Japan to being considered the 3rd best deck in the format. So how good was Blue Eyes actually? Well, in 2016, it was really good, but for most of its history, it has meandered in bad to almost unplayable. But the future looks really bright for Blue Eyes, and just maybe with some help with the ban list, it could just maybe hit those highs that it used to in 2016. But that's all I have for you guys today. Don't forget to subscribe. This has been the Shadow Realm Network, and I'll see you guys next time.